Hi everyone, this is James Himm Mitchell, and I am about to conduct the follow-up to the previous Oracle Outlook video reading, which was posted to the channel on Monday, August the 18th, 2025. And so I am filming this on Thursday morning. It is August the 21st, 2025. If this is your first time here, if this is your first time checking out my content or experiencing me, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the video. I do appreciate it. If you are a returning viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for always circling back and for continuing to support the work that goes into the channel. So in this video, we're going to be doing the line of 5 extraction that I alluded to and promised in the previous video, and I'm very excited about doing this one in light of the fact that over the course of the last few days, one of the viewers who left a comment, Tamara, made a point to ask me about, in a future video, if I would talk more about the placement of significators, because we have two in this particular reading. So we have woman at the top and we have man at the bottom. And so I talked about it in that perspective based on where they are placed in the 9-card box. But when we do the line of 5 extraction, there's going to be a very interesting thing to notice, and so I'm hoping that Tamara is going to be able to check out this video at some point. Okay, so like I said, this is the box reading that was done on Monday for the week ahead, and I just love you all, as I always say, or at least I've said in the previous videos over the course of the last few weeks, because you all continue to want to see this line of 5 extraction process, and I couldn't be any more happier, because it is a process that I do in my own personal work with the cards. So I'm just glad that you all are finding it helpful, finding it informative, and maybe even doing it in your own personal practice at this point. Okay, so the way that the line of 5 process goes is that you want to start, once you work through your 9-card box, and you could do this as a way of summing up your reading, right? Or you could take it as final advice or the bottom line, or see if there's an additional message that maybe you didn't glean from the original 9-card box. And the process goes like this. So you start with your card, your focus card. For me, it would be card 5, because I just lay them out in sequential order. So this is card 5 for me. So you would start with the card in the middle, then you're going to take that out. This is going to become the first card in your line of 5, okay? And then you're going to count 2. 1, 2. Then the second card here is your next card, money, okay? And we're going to count 2 again. 1, 2. Second card becomes the third card. Then you're going to count 2 again. 1, 2. This becomes the fourth card, and then 1, 2, and this becomes the final card. And so we're going to take the remainder of the deck up. And I should say, if you're here for the first time, the deck that we've been working with is my own making, my latest deck creation. I call it the Mitchell Fortune Telling Oracle. It is a loving blend of Lenormand cards, Kipper cards, and Bohemian cards, or more popularly known as Gypsy cards, with a few of my own cards thrown in the mix. It's a 55 card deck, and I am unveiling it. This is not the first time. This is now going to be the third time, but it's new to me, and so I'm working with it to build more of a bond and connection with it, and just to test it, just to make sure that it is going to be a viable reading tool as I intended when I was creating the cards. Okay, so now once you extract your cards, then you're going to lay them out in the order that they were extracted. All right, so we have our line of 5, and then you could choose to read it from left to right in forward narration. This is where it becomes personal preference to the reader, right? Or you could start like I'm going to start with the focus card. So now when you're working with your line of 5 after you extract it from your 9 card box, you're going to have a different focal card, right? Because your original focal card is going to be the first card in the line, right? And I should say at this point, you don't want to lose sight of any of the information that you glean from the cards initially, right? All of that is still in play, so to speak, right? But here we have a new focal point. Here we have the man card. So now the man card is a significator card. So it usually will represent either the man who's having his cards read, right? If it's a male seeker, querent, or client. Or it's going to be, if you're reading for a woman, or a woman is reading for herself, then this would be a man who's playing an important role or significant, right? That's a play on significator, a significant part in the unfolding of the situation that's being examined in the cards, right? So there's that possibility as well, right? So because I'm a man, I would take this to mean pertain to me. Or if you're a male viewer, then this is going to pertain to you possibly, right? Because when we're doing general readings, we have to put out the disclaimer that not everything that is said in a general reading is going to apply to 100% of the people who are viewing the video, right? So for some of us, if you are card enthusiasts, this might be more for your learning purposes than anything else, right? Okay. But here we have a man who's playing a central part or is the focus of the situation, right? Because he's in the center of line. So I always go like playing a central role or part in the unfolding of the situation that's being examined, right? So now, a couple of things about direction, because I read with directional cues. If you notice, he is looking this way. So these two cards would be future oriented. He's looking that way. So this could be either line of sight or something pertaining to looking ahead to the future. And then these cards would be the past. But in the context of a week ahead reading, then you might want to consider the idea that this is a situation that he is willing to face, these two cards, right, over the course of the week. And then the cards behind him would be what we call inauspicious placement, which means that over the course of the week, these would be areas of challenge for him, again, because he's not facing those, right? So those are a couple of ways of looking at it depending on the context. Always have to remember the context and the question, because it's a matter of plugging whatever you get from the cards back into the context, back into the question. Right? So if we go with the idea that this is about the week ahead, then he's looking at woman and sadness, right? So these would be things that he's willing to face over the course of the week. And him not facing home and family and money would be the things that are going to be challenging for him over the course of the week. Yeah? Now, and this is why I'm hoping Tamara is watching, because we have both significators next to each other. Here we have the woman card. So just as I said, with the man card, you want to take into account the direction that the woman is looking in, right? So if you are a woman watching this video, she could pertain to you. If you're a man watching this video, this would be a woman who's playing an important role or a significant role in the situation that's unfolding, right? So now, she is looking this way. So this would be her future, or what is going to be, even if challenging cards, this is going to be something that she's willing to face because she's looking at this. This would also be line of sight, right? And then behind her would be what's inauspicious or challenging for her, right? And again, this could be the past, and this would be the future, or this could be inauspicious placement, a challenge over the course of the week, and then what she's willing to face going into the week or as she moves through the week. Yes? Now, let's talk about the dynamic between the man and the woman. So we have them looking at each other, facing each other, unlike they were in the 9-card box, right? So here we have agreement where in the box we had disagreement, right? Because they're facing each other. Usually when two significator cards are facing each other, it's a good sign, right? So we could take into account there's some agreement here, possibly. Now, if you notice, there's a relationship going on here, right? And so what I love about my cards, it's like day and night, or, you know, that expression like two people who are like night and day, right? So we have that here. So it could be two people who are polar opposites, right? And attempting to relate to one another. So there is that, just by the day and the night in the image, right? Now it could also be a transition from day to night, because I talked about in the previous video how the significator cards in my deck have more than just this is a man and this is a woman, right? This could be aspects of the Sun card from Lenormand, the Lenormand system, right? And then this would be aspects of the Moon card from the Lenormand system, right? So you could also, or I could also, because this is my deck, take that into account. But I'm going to stick with them being significators, right? Now, one thing that's important to note is that there's not a card between them. So here we have, you know, possible agreement, or two people who, despite the fact that they're like night and day, are very close, right? Because of proximity, right? But when you're doing a relationship reading, you like to see a card in between, because you like to see what is the focus of the relationship. You know, what are they each either looking at or looking to in the relationship with one another. And so sometimes when there's not a card between them, that can be a little bit of a challenge. And then that's where cards behind them are important to look at, right? So the idea of maybe even though they're close, and that would talk about, you know, maybe the relationship in accordance to the 9-card box, even though they're close, there's still something about like day and night, right? So that could be like, you know, maybe in and of itself a form of opposition, right? Okay, so there's that to consider. So now let's take a look at it from the man's perspective, right? So with the home and family and the money cards behind him over the course of the week, because I'm still keeping in context that this was for the week ahead. So here we have the previous focus card, home and family. This would be home related issues, right? Family related issues, right? Or the idea of comfort. So with this behind him over the course of the week, there would be challenges with home life, personal life, or family, and this would be immediate family, right? Because when we extended or evolved the story in the previous video, the tree card turned up, and the tree card for me is extended family. So here we have immediate family, right? Or this could just be, you know, your everyday living experience, right? And then we move to money. So money, remember, is a card for me that can talk about financial transactions, because the open hand is receiving coins. So this could be financial transactions. This could also be change and improvement. And this would be change at hand, or how we are handling change. Yeah? So that could be a challenge for him. There may be changes and improvements the man could make to his everyday living experience, but the changes and improvements may prove to be challenging over the course of the week, right? Or it could even be that there's going to be a challenge for him regarding financial or monetary transactions. Now, the interesting thing, and I love this dynamic, in the background of the money card, there are houses. And so for me, that is a nod to the home and family card, and we have both cards in the line of this reading, right? And so that just reinforces the idea that this is about home-related matters, domestic matters. In this context, this could be about home improvements, or, you know, paying household expenses. So we may have a challenge with that for the man. right? And then going this way, then we have him looking at a woman. And then whatever the situation is that's unfolding, if it on a home front or having to do with monetary transactions and paying household bills, things like that, the sadness card is a challenging card on an emotional level, which is why it has a coral orange border, right? For me, I said in a previous video that all the borders were in alignment with doing research on color associations based on aspects of life, and I discovered that a deep orange can represent intense emotions. Yeah, so I went with that. But this is also a cause and effect card. But in the end, as the outcome, this would be whatever we are challenged with, the man. It's going to end with a sense of sadness, upset, or disappointment. Right? And so that's if we look at it from the man's perspective. If we look at it from the woman's perspective, going forward, again, she's facing the man, you know, and so there may be something about proximity. So these would be two people who are close, and that may be they share living space, right? They may even cohabitate, share living space, cohabitate, right? We don't know the status of their relationship, so they could be partners, they could be roommates. Again, we don't have context because there's nothing in between them, but we don't have cards in here like the marriage card, which would signify, you know, state of marriage or a seriously committed relationship. We don't have the dog card, which would be, you know, friendship, companionship, you know, fidelity, loyalty. You know, we don't really have a context. Now, we could also maybe even consider that with home and family, that they could even be siblings, right? Because the man and the woman don't necessarily have to be in a romantic relationship. They could just be in some kind of relationship, and then these two would be relationships that are on the same level, kind of thing. So that could even be a case like that. So yeah, they could be family members even. Okay, so there is that as possible context, but she's looking at the man, and then she's also facing money. Now this would be her being on the receiving end because she's looking at it on the receiving end of money, right? Whereas the man may be challenged with it, right? She's on the receiving end of it. Now I also should say that with him being behind it, it could be like he is sending money, right? So now again, there's another nuance or a little bit of a shade or a change in the context, right? This could be him sending money and her receiving it based on the line, right? With the money being behind him and ahead of her. And then she's looking at the home and family. So this could be her engaging with family members perhaps, or a family member in particular, or feeling a sense of comfort, right? Because this is at the end of the line for her. Now, interestingly enough, sadness is behind her. Now remember, this is a cause and effect card. So if I read it, the card in front of sadness, in front of the woman on the sadness card, would be either the effect or what's being affected. And then the card behind sadness would be the cause. In this particular way, or looking at it in that manner, the woman is being affected by sadness, right? So she could be the one who's experiencing upset, sadness, disappointment with the man, right? And then why it might be due to money related issues or wanting to change something or improve something, right? And that could be either in their personal life if they live together, or in a situation that's going to make her feel more at home, more comfortable, right? So those are a couple of ways of reading the line. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to evolve the story, because I have the rest of the deck next to me. Here it is, right next to me. So because sadness is a cause and effect card, I'm feeling I want to evolve the story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the rest of the cards over, just so I have room for an additional card. And maybe I'll even go like this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck, and we're going to extract a card from the deck and put it behind the sadness card, right? Because I'm thinking that for me, this changes the narrative a little bit because the woman is being affected by sadness, upset, disappointment. So I want to know more about that. Okay. Alright, so now I picked the card, so let's take a look at the cause behind the sadness. Okay, and here we have a connector card. So I'm going to hold the card up. So here we have the anger card. So like I said, because of the pink border, it is a connector card. So now here we have another emotional, an intense emotional card, right? So we have anger, and anger usually for me can represent anger, of course. It could represent, now if you look, there's an argument, right? So here we have heated words being exchanged, argument, conflict. This is a card for me that can represent conflict and some kind of discord. So here behind the sadness, we have conflict, discord, maybe even an argument that came before the upset, the disappointment, right? And it's affecting a woman. So this is all about her emotional state of being and how it's affecting their relationship, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another card, and I'm going to, and I like the fact that I raised the cards because I'll just simply put it beneath the card. But the connector card's role is that it connects cards on either side of it. So anger is connected to sadness, right? Which is affecting the woman, right? So and now the man, if we go back out, if the man, you know, if it ends in sadness, upset, disappointment, it could lead to heated words being exchanged, an argument, some kind of conflict, discord, right? And with the two men in each other's faces, right, it could be like, you know, some kind of even face-off, right? Okay, so now let's do it one more time. Alright, so I shuffled the deck for another card, and what I'm going to do, normally I would put the card behind the anger card, but I'm going to put it underneath instead. So here we have, okay, and so in connection to the anger card, we have the laurel wreath card, so I'll hold it up a little bit here. So the laurel wreath card for me is a card typically that can represent triumph, victory, and success, right? But this card can also be, because of the association with laurel as an herb, this card can represent things like healing, it can represent cleansing, it could represent protection. But what I'm noticing here is that the wreath is in a circular pattern or formation, right? So this could be something that we go, or for them, the man and the woman, they're going around and around and around, right? And maybe with the idea here is that with each time they go around, either one party or the other imagines that it's going to be more successful this go around than previous go arounds, right? But like I said, for me, this card would suggest on some level that in order for them to be successful, right, if I use one of the keywords for the card, they're going to have to work at it. And the reason I say that is because this is one of the work cards. It's in the category of work because I made it with a cobalt blue border, and all the work cards in the deck have that color as a border. So yeah, so in order for them, it could be worked out if I go with maybe more of the man facing this, it could be worked out, but they're going to have to work through either anger issues, discord, conflict, whatever the conflict is. They could work it out, at least from his perspective, right? It may be more challenging for her because, again, these cards are behind her. But maybe for the goal for the man is to work things out. But it's not without some sense of conflict or discord. And so on that note, I'm going to wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook line of 5 extraction. If you made it through to this point in the reading with me, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. I never take that lightly. And if you appreciated seeing the Mitchell fortune telling oracle, because I had a number of you reach out through the comments in the previous video, which, by the way, I will leave a link to in the description box below the video and in the comment thread beneath that description box. If you haven't checked it out and you want to check it out, I'll leave the link so you can do that. But I want to say, for those of you who expressed interest in the deck, thank you so much for your interest. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you so much for the deck love. Some of you said you love the card, so I am so happy because, I'm biased. I made the deck. I love the deck. So it's nice that, people who are seeing it for the first time in a video are enjoying the cards and loving the cards. And some of you even asked if I would make the deck available to the public. So let me just say right here, that is my intention for those who are interested in it. But I want to do this deck right by providing some form of reference material. If you've purchased decks in the past from me, you know that one of my challenges is writing some kind of reference material to go with the decks. So I want to do that because I love this deck so much. And I feel because I have some type of system here with the colored borders and using things like terms like connector cards, stop cards, cause and effect cards, that some written material might be helpful and beneficial. So once I actually get something like that done, then I will make it available to the public. So at this point, I will just say I will keep you all updated on my progress. And with that, I'm signing out. Thank you again for checking out the video, and I will see you in a future video at some point on the channel. So until then, take care, be well, and have a great day.